So, hi, I'm Laura. I was married for 32 years and I have three grown children. And I used to be a speech therapist. And then in 2020, I decided to make a career change because 2020. And really, we had a couple of deaths in the family. And so I just decided to make kind of a life change. It was, especially during the pandemic and all that. And during that time, I decided that I wanted to get a divorce because I think I have figured out after that my ex is a narcissist. I started to kind of understand. I felt like something was wrong, and I had been doing therapy, and so I decided to. I was like starting to figure out there's something wrong. It's not just like he's a jerk. Like he's abusing me. You know what I mean? And so I decided to get a divorce. I never thought I would do that. And from there, I've always had a heart to work with women and help women. I'm a big encourager. I'm always trying to not just find the bright side because I can look at the bad side too, but I want to help women to heal on their journey as well. I feel like we can all work with, or we can all learn from each other. I'm no expert. I'm just 13 months out from my divorce, but I'm further along than some friends that are just starting their journey. And maybe, other people are further along. They can help me. And so I just decided I wanted to help women. I didn't know what that looked like. And was it coaching? What was it? And this podcast, I like to talk. And so, and it was so funny because during therapy, I said, oh, no one's ever listened to me and I'm going to start a podcast,
Nice. Hey,
So
just to clarify, did you guys do couples therapy or you did individual therapy? What did that
Yes.
look like?
Both. Yeah. So I've been doing individual therapy off and on for the last 7 years intensively because we've had some major life things happening. And we did couples counseling. But the one thing that happens in couples counseling, if you are with a person who I'm going to call him a narcissist, even though he's not diagnosed that way, he has the tendencies. It doesn't work because they don't think they have anything wrong. And also it all becomes your fault. And so going to counseling was just a way for him to show that something was going on with me. And so for me, what's worked the best is individual counseling to really heal what the things that I thought were going on. I did have other things going on because we had some major life trauma happening. And so, so individual and couples counseling to try and save my marriage, and did so many other things. We did retreats. I did Bible studies. I prayed. I had friends praying. We did lots of things together as a couple. And it just, nothing was sticking because not both of us were not invested. So that was the key in that.
Yeah, sounds like it was a long relationship. Did you say over 30 years you guys were together?
We were together 33. We were married 32. We were young. We were so young when we got married. And so you don't even have a full functioning brain at that point. We were 23 and 22 when we got married. And so, you become different people, which that doesn't matter necessarily because people can learn and grow, and you can be married young and that's okay. But when one person or both people are growing, well, you're going to grow regardless. You're going to grow. And when you grow, but not both people aren't invested in the growth or in the changes, and the changes become a problem, then that was what was not working for us.
Yeah, and it sounds like you guys tried and everything. I'm curious, at what point during the relationship did you start noticing kind of these narcissistic tendencies? And I want to talk more about this whole narcissist topic, but I'm curious to know, let's dig a bit more into your story if you don't mind sharing.
Yeah, absolutely not. So I actually only realized, we've been divorced about 13 months, and I only realized it in the last couple of years.
Wow.
I had never heard. Actually, I probably have heard the word gaslighting and I probably have heard the word narcissism, but I didn't know what it meant. I really just thought my husband was kind of a jerk, and like, why didn't he why wasn't he trying to fix these things? And every time he would blame me, and because I had such a low self-esteem and self-worth, that every time he would blame me, I would believe it. And that's the hard part, is that it's such an incremental thing. It took 33 years to get there. Yeah. Well, when I figured out the last year or so of our marriage, I'm like, this is what you're doing to me. Okay, well, narcissists don't like to be called out. So what happened then was he started finding ways for me to want to leave. It's a pattern that they do. There's a very strategic pattern. Thinking back now, being in even more therapy and recovering for the last year and a half or the last year, I probably can look back and see red flags starting at the beginning, maybe even on our honeymoon or before.
Oh yeah, that early, right?
Yes, because it's like you get clarity and you're like,
Yeah.
wow, this has been going on for a while.
Yeah. How would you define a narcissist? Like, how do you define kind of that term to women and based on what you've experienced?
Well, okay, so a narcissist is born out of emotional neglect. And so that happens unfortunately in childhood. And so they get stunted in that area. Usually it's emotionally neglectful mother, but that's not necessarily always the case. But they're born out of emotional neglect. They have a sense of self-importance. They're arrogant. They have a lack of empathy. They must be admired. Everything has to be their way. Everything that you're doing is wrong. So it's everything is about their own gain. Nothing is about a team effort, even though that's what they're saying. And so then you're going to find that these kind of people are also lying because if you're catching them in lies, because mine would say, you're just not a team player and we should be a team. And I'd be like, okay, what am I doing that's not a team player? And then he wouldn't be a team player. He'd be all out for himself. He wouldn't even consider me. He used to only clean like half his bathroom. Like our bathroom was really big and he'd clean his half.
Oh, wow.
It's stuff like that. It's like, it's only, and all of this is part of they want to make sure you understand that they're better than you are. And I know it's weird. Like, who would think that? I'd be like, why? You didn't clean my side of the bathroom? Like, who does that? But it's all part of the process of devaluing you. Unfortunately, it's sad, but that's what it is.
Yeah. And I'm glad you said earlier kind of the whole idea of like both people wanting to make the commitment to fix things, because I think one of the things now that we're hearing more and more of this word narcissism, and I mean that's something I've just researched
Right.
in more recent years, because I try to stay away from those terms, but I think it can be useful to label things so that we can bring things into awareness and understand things. But I also realized, just kind of in my work, in my experience, sometimes in the relationship that we can see narcissistic tendencies, but there's a difference when the person is a narcissist too. And I think that might play off the whole idea of, you were saying, the willingness to work on things. How do you feel about that statement?
Well, yes. And I was actually talking to somebody about this who wanted a label, right? And the thing is that, look, it's an oxymoron that a diagnosed narcissist, because if they are truly a narcissist where they could be, diagnosed by a psychologist, they're not going anywhere near anyone who is going to diagnose them with anything. It's very minimal. But the label helps in regard to how you then interact with these people. So that's why, to me, I don't have to say, I say he's a narcissist just for ease of explanation. He just has all the tendencies. I mean, he's just exactly like textbook to me, but that doesn't mean he's been diagnosed that. So I just use that because it's an easy way for me. I can actually look at the definition. I can look at his patterns and what they do, and then know this is how to deal with it. This is how I can work with it. It helps me in my journey because I don't want to take it all personally. What he's doing, it's about them, not us.
And it's so easy to take it personally, right?
Yes, of course. Yeah. When someone for me, I was replaced immediately.
Oh,
you know what I
wow.
mean? It's like, so I don't want to take that personally. That's why it's so important to continue to work on your self-esteem and your self-worth.
Yeah.
I think that's important anyway, but that's why it's so important to work on that. That's the biggest thing. And learning healthy boundaries, but that's the ultimate self-love, is learning healthy boundaries.
Yeah. I'm just wondering if you can recall some of those early earlier on red flags that you had in the relationship, just to help women who are maybe in a situation right now that they're not sure if it's narcissism or not? What are some of these, maybe those subtle red flag signs you saw at the beginning but didn't catch on to, that can kind of help women who might be in a similar situation but don't know it yet?
Well, and I have a few in front of me, so that's why I'll be reaching out to my computer. Nice. But you know, some of the things are like they attack your self-worth, and they often criticize you. Like everything is a criticism. I wouldn't have done it that way. That was his favorite statement. It didn't matter what it was. I wouldn't have done it that way, because there's a pattern of what we're going to call abuse, because it is considered emotional abuse. There's a pattern of abuse, and one of the patterns and where you will start seeing red flags is devaluing. And what devaluing does by criticizing you, by lying to you, by pushing as far as they can. And so they will do that by lying to you. And if you believe them, then they know, aha, she believed me, I'm going to do it again. And I'm just using men and women just as an example. Women can be narcissists as well, but I'm just going from my experience. So, and then also any kind of control. So if they isolate you from your friends, they tell you, you know, I don't really like that friend for you. She's like really rude or whatever. I remember back to friends that I had, and he would tell me, I don't really like her for you. Now, in hindsight, I think back, because all this stuff starts coming back to me like all these years, you know, and I remember some of the friends he would say that about they were very strong women. And so they don't like you around strong women, where you might actually start being strong yourself, though they're attracted to strong women. So take it as a compliment. You were, if you are in this kind of a relationship, it's actually a compliment, because you're a strong woman. And since they are emotionally stunted, they want to mirror a strong person so they can learn how to be strong themselves. So, I mean, I take it as a compliment, even though it's kind of demented.